Hi guys, it's Dylan from Bijou Diamond Jewellery in London again with another watch review, and today we're looking at the Hublot Big Bang Unico in clear sapphire crystal. Like most of the other reviews, we start with the history. If we move back to 2004, when Jean-Claude Bivet joined Hublot, he then designed a piece called the Big Bang, which was then released in 2005, and that has become their biggest selling watch. Incredible success and completely transformed the brand for Hublot. And then skip 10 years on, we saw the release of the Big Bang Unico. The Unico featured a special movement where different complications could be bolted on and a new type of movement could be created. And then in 2016 we saw the release of the Sapphire versions of the Unico. Since then we've seen a few different versions of the Sapphire edition, but this clear Unico has been one of the most famous. And all of the Sapphire Unicos are limited to 500 pieces. Obviously the main feature of this watch is its sapphire case, but of the Unico specifically, the main feature is its chronograph. And this one is a flyback chronograph, meaning that when you press the start-stop button and your chronograph is running, instead of having to press the start-stop button again and then reset, you can then reset it while the chronograph is running. The case is actually split up into three sections: the bezel, the middle case, and then the case back. Each of these parts of the case are cut from a single block of sapphire. Sapphire is extremely hard. It's almost actually as hard as diamond, and that means this watch is very scratch resistant. So the actual outer case is made from mostly sapphire. Our pushers, our crown, screws, and then our deployment clasp and also the deployment buttons for the straps are all made from titanium coated in silicon. The only thing that looks like sapphire on the watch that isn't actually sapphire is on the dial, and that's the clear parts on the dial are actually made from a clear resin. Let's have a little look at the dial on this watch. Starting from the top, so the crystal of the watch, we can see the logo printed on the actual crystal. It almost floats over the top of the dial. Then we move down one further step when we get to the hands. I like the classic seconds hand. Well, this is specifically for the chronograph seconds, and we've got that Hublot logo on the end of the hand. The other hands are hour hands, and also the small seconds and then the chronograph minutes are all quite angular. All the hands and then the indexes and also the numbers on the dial are covered with lume, so this watch does glow in the dark. Stepping down from the hands, we can see there's like a clear layer. Almost looks like a web with the numbers and the indexes, and this is made from a clear resin. Underneath that we have the movement. I really like the central two cogs. It's kind of like the heart of the whole piece. I think it's really nice the way they've exposed those two cogs. And then further down from that we have the date wheel. It's all exposed as well. We can see all the different numbers, and it's in like this really cool dark gunmetal looking grey, which brings it apart from the rest of the piece and the movement. And then the date window at 3 o'clock has this white background which the numbers hover over. And then towards 9 o'clock we have these almost like bike wheels with these really cool alloy looking spokes. I think that's a really nice feature. That's kind of the deepest we can see into this movement. If we turn the watch over, we can see the clear crystal case back. The back of the movement's very, very simple. Nothing really special, kind of looks pretty utility. Not really like the AP movements where you can see the finishing is amazing on the AP movements and also the Patek. This kind of looks more utility and a bit more rough, which kind of goes with the style of the watch, but I think I prefer the APs and the Pateks. You can really see why you pay for such an expensive watch and the care they take inside and outside of the watch. I'm not really getting the same sense with this Unico. I think the sapphire is an amazing touch, and I love the way it shines the light off in these unique ways. It's very angular, but at the same time I think if it was made from metal, you'd notice those angles much more. Because it's clear, the light doesn't really bounce off them in the same way. You don't necessarily notice those edges. It's a very subtle appearance. I like the way you can see the screws through. You can really see exactly what's going on inside this watch. Another cool feature on this watch is the strap pushers, and this means you can undo the straps really easily just with that push of the button at 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock, and you can switch around the straps. And this is maybe not so useful in this watch because I think this watch probably only really looks good with these clear frosted straps, but on the other Unicos where you've got maybe like a plain black one and you know the other styles, I can see it being much more useful there. I really like the strap on this watch. It's one of my favorite features. I love the way you can see your skin through it and kind of goes with the whole style of the see-through appearance, but it's not completely clear. I like the frosted, it's a nice contrast to the watch. I think if it was all perfectly clear, like see-through like the case, I think it would all just blend into one big mass. And one of my only things I don't like about this watch is the finishing on the strap. When you look at rubber Audemars Piguet and rubber Patek and rubber Richard Mille straps, you can see the quality is unbelievable. You'd never imagine that they could make something so perfectly finished out of rubber. And I feel like this is kind of just a little bit cheap looking. The edges aren't perfect. And I think it kind of lets down the whole amazing style of this watch. I don't think there's any excuses. It's rubber, and you're only making 500 of these. I don't see why they can't be perfect. That's a little bit of a disappointment for me. And that brings me on to another point about the whole finishing and the value of this watch. It's a £48,000 retail here in the UK, and that's an amazing deal for a Sapphire watch. If you look at the Richard Mille, I think that was $1.5 million, that one. And that was also a tourbillon, so, you know, kind of different league in watches. And obviously the brands are completely different, but the finishing on that watch is unbelievable. That's only limited to 10 watches as well. I think they've taken much more care with that piece versus this one. I think that Richard Mille is actually made out of one complete piece of sapphire, versus this one's made up of 3 pieces. I feel like Hublot just churns out too many special editions, and there's not enough care taken with each one. And this doesn't, even though it's a special looking watch and an amazing looking watch, I don't feel like it's mega special like the Richard Milles. Which brings me on to whether or not I would actually buy this watch. I'm not a massive Hublot fan, but if I was to buy a Hublot, I probably would buy this one. I think it's a really cool looking piece, and I think you get a lot for your money. But for me, Hublot doesn't represent the same level of watchmaking and pure design and care that Patek and Richard Mille and Audemars Piguet portray. And Hublot have quite a bad name in the watch industry because they churn out these special editions every 5 minutes, and they're very young and they don't really have the history that AP and Patek and all these bigger brands have. I think Richard Mille is a very unique brand, and it's maybe the closest that Hublot reaches is Richard Mille, because they're both looking at innovation in terms of materials and sports styles and amazing pieces. And breakthroughs in technology, but Hublot is kind of just not got the same special care and attention that Richard Mille has, and that's reflected in the price tag. Hublot is an awkward one in terms of the market because it doesn't really fit into anywhere like AP and Patek fit into that super care in terms of case finishing, and Hublot just doesn't quite fit in with that. Would I own it? Yes, it would be the only Hublot I'd buy, but I don't think I would buy it. Thanks guys for watching. Be sure to head over to our website and check out our engagement rings and our wedding bands, and stay tuned for more watch reviews.